Today was day 3 in Brian Walshe's trial. So here we are to break down and recap everything that happened in day 3 and what did we learn in day 3 that's going to either help the prosecution or help the defense. Before we jump into day 3, I want to tell you about tomorrow, which is day 4. You know, usually day 4 follows day 3, even in Massachusetts. So tomorrow we're going to be hearing from William Fastow. William Fastow was the person who Anna Walshe was having an affair with. And the question really is going to come down to, did Brian Walshe know about that affair? Was that a possible motive for him for murdering, according to the prosecution? That's what he did, murder Anna Walshe because of the affair. Was that a motive? Did he know about it? Or did he just have access to her phones? But we're going to be hearing a lot about the details. Tomorrow we're going to be hearing a lot about the text messages between Anna Walshe and William Fastow and perhaps some other information. So if there's a day that you do not want to miss, it's going to be tomorrow. So join us right back here, Brother Counsel Studios, 9:30 in the morning for the continued live stream of this trial. Before we jump into the recap of day 3, I still want to remind everybody that if you have not donated yet, you still have the opportunity to donate to RCCS, a very, very special organization which helps families that are stricken with cancer. Anybody who's been stricken with it and suffered with it or has a family member knows exactly what that's like, and they need all the support that they can get. So this is an organization that steps in there, provide that support that the family needs. Very special organization. I'm going to be playing ice hockey to benefit that charity. So don't send me any super chats. Just any amount is appreciated and is going to go to a very good cause. The link is in the description. All right. So what happened in day 3? Well, first we had Nicholas Garino take the stand. He was on the stand for a lot of day 2, going through a lot of the Google searches that Brian Walshe did. Some very incriminating Google searches. How to dispose of a body, how to dismember a body. A lot of searches about divorce strategies and best states to divorce for a man. Also questions like, does the FBI get your devices? Can they retrieve information from your iPhone and things like that? So Nicholas Garino was on the stand today with cross-examination. So what came out in cross-examination is that many of the searches did not include the word murder. It was just about dismembering a body. And now you'll remember that the theory here by the defense is that Brian Walshe did disinter Anna Walshe's body. And he really pled guilty to that, which we're going to get to at the end of the video today. But they're not disputing that fact. So they're embracing that fact, saying, yeah, he may have dismembered her, but he didn't actually murder her. So all these searches was because he panicked, because his wife just died on him. Unexplained, sudden, unexplained death. And now he just panicked because he thought that they're going to assume that he had something to do with it. So therefore he tried to hide it, even though he was not responsible for the death. That is the defense's theory here. So they just want to point out that many of the searches did not include the word murder. Now, the first time that murder did appear was in after 11 a.m. January 1st, 6 hours after the searches began. So maybe he was just searching all these different terms about how to dismember a body and how to hide a body and does DNA come off of knives and all the searches that we heard about yesterday. But then eventually, maybe the search engine realized, hey, this is somebody that wants to know about murder, and therefore they threw some suggestions out there, and maybe that's why he ended up searching for some terms with murder. But really, again, the defense theory here is that he was really just searching for how to figure out how to hide this body, dismember this body, and get rid of this body, unfortunately. All right, so that was one of the parts that they brought on cross-examination. Also, he said that a lot of the devices were turned over by January 6, 2023, and all the hard drives of those devices were intact. They were not tampered with. So even though some of the searches suggested that he may have to destroy the hard drives, but he didn't do it. And he just turned them over and said, okay, they're all yours, and go find whatever you want in these devices. Also, the fact that he brought out that nobody deleted any of the search histories. I mean, a lot of times when people are trying to hide their tracks, then they'll try to delete the search history, which could be found by Celebrate in these type of programs, but no searches were discovered in a deleted state. Some of you coming from the Karen Reed case will appreciate that if a search is in a deleted state. But in this case, there was no searches in a deleted state. Now, also, there were some Chase logins suggesting perhaps that Brian Walshe was checking on the accounts. And maybe that's also a motive for why he killed Anna Walshe, because he had all this money that was going to be available to him if Anna Walshe died, like life insurance policies and some other investment accounts. So there were some Chase logins that he did. But what the defense wanted to bring out here is that there were also Porsche searches after the Chase login. So there's a Chase login, and then after that, there was some searches for a Porsche because, according to the defense, Brian Walshe was looking to buy his wife, who he loves, a Porsche. So maybe that's why he was checking the Chase accounts to see how much money he's gotten there to see if he can afford this Porsche that he wants to buy his wife. Also, there was a search for a 4-carat diamond around the same time, December 26th, December 27th. So to be clear, the divorce searches were right after he searched for diamonds and before he searched for Porsches. And that's also going to tie back into the defense's theory here that the only reason why Brian Walshe was searching for divorces was not because he had any intention of really divorcing his wife or that they fell out of love or anything like that. It was just practical. It was all just practical to figure out what they're going to do with their assets. And since he's going to jail and federal prison, he's got the kids, how are they going to figure out what to do with their assets? And maybe if they're divorced would make things easier. That's the only reason why he was searching the divorce searches. And you can tell because he's also searching for diamonds the same minute. So are you going to look for diamonds to buy for your wife if you're about to divorce her? Obviously not. Are you going to search to buy her a Porsche if you're about to divorce her? Obviously not. So that was, again, another point that the defense brought out. Now, on redirect, they did bring out, the prosecutor did bring out that on January 1st, there was a search for your wife is missing and you want a divorce. Now, remember, the theory here is that the only time that Brian Walshe was really looking into divorce was December 26th, 27th, and that was the time that they were discussing what to do with their assets. But if you find a divorce search later on January 1st, well, then, maybe there's other reasons why you're searching for divorce. So that was something that the prosecution brought out on redirect. Then we heard from William Foley. William Foley is from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and the point was a number of these witnesses to show that they did do an investigation to see if Anna Walshe was missing, and also they have to let the jury know that she's not missing. It's not like she's somewhere hiding out, watching this trial somewhere from a bunker. No, they did a good investigation about a missing person, and she's not around. She's dead. So U.S. Customs and Border Protection, so his job was to see whether Anna Walshe left the country after January 1st, 2023, and there, of course, was no record of her leaving the country January 1st, 2023. Now, we also had heard from Patrick Riotarn, who was a canine handler, and he searched the area near the Walshe residence to see if Anna Walsh's body would turn up there. Maybe she got lost in the woods or whatever it was, and they didn't find her body there either. And then we heard from Thomas Menino, who was a JetBlue corporate security manager. He also was in charge of the records, and he was going through the records from JetBlue. This was a airline that she always flew from Boston to, or I should say from Massachusetts to Washington, D.C., where she worked, and there was no records of her flying after January 1st either, as you can imagine. Now, there were some tickets that were booked for her January 3rd, January 13th, January 16th, which means that she seemed to have planning these trips, but she never showed up for these trips. So there's no record of her flying anywhere from JetBlue after January 1st. Then we heard from Greg Lawrence. Greg Lawrence is from the Cohasset PD Patrol. He went to the Brian Walshe's residence for this well checkup for a report of a missing person. That's when Brian Walshe was making this initial report. And he told them that the last time that he saw Anna Walshe was January 1st, 2023, when she was leaving, supposedly on her way to D.C., which we know at this point, they're not disputing that that was a lie. Then we had Seth Fox from Lyft, and we had Alyssa Wimmer from Uber, and they also both testified that there was no records of Anna Walshe taking a ride from Lyft or from Uber, which again, according to Brian Walshe, that's what she did that morning. That's what he told the police, that she was leaving and she went to the airport with the Uber or Lyft, and that obviously was not true either. And again, I don't think the defense is going to dispute that it was all a lie. We heard from Michael Kenyon, who he was the one who picked up the dumpsters that they found Anna Walsh's clothing and a lot of other disturbing materials in those dumpsters. We heard from Amy Waterman. Amy Waterman is a Massachusetts State Police trooper. She went to Anna Walsh's home in D.C., and that's where she saw nothing out of the ordinary really in her house in D.C. Then we heard from Peter Capozzoli, who actually was the landlord of the Walshes. And he actually told us how much they paid. They got a deal. First 6 months, they only had to pay $4,800 a month for that house, that beautiful house. And then the next 6 months was $5,000 a month. So that's the rent. That was the going rate for the house, living in a nice house. And he said that he went to the Caribbean over New Year's Eve, and that is when he received a call from Brian Walshe asking him if he had security on his used car building, because he also owned a used car dealership. And he was asking if he has any security cameras for his dealership because his wife is missing, and maybe if he had some cameras, then maybe they'd be able to see was near the area where Anna Walshe lived, so maybe they would be able to locate her and see if she was driving by, and that's why he was calling her, which again was obviously all a lie. Also, they said the fact that this is brought out that there was a partially furnished rental, so the house was partially furnished when they rented it, and the lease was signed by Diana Walshe, who is Brian Walsh's mother. So Brian Walsh's mother was the one who actually signed on the lease, and that a very expensive lease, and that also came out during direct examination. Cross-examination, some talked about the basement, and the basement had a separate entrance, and the basement was not finished. And he did keep some stuff down there. He had some fridges down there that were not plugged in. So he did keep certain things. The landlord did keep certain things down there, but it did have a separate entrance, and it was not finished. We heard from Mark Salvaggi. Hope I'm saying all these names right. He is a New York from New York Life Insurance, and he was talking about the life insurance policies that Anna Walshe had. She had a term life insurance policy of $1 million and a whole life insurance policy of $250,000. And also, which is interesting, that came out through his testimony, is that it seems like the prosecutor wanted to get in Anna Walsh's medical records to show that she was a healthy human being. She wouldn't just drop dead for no reason. But the judge did not allow through him all the medical records to come in, but she did allow him to say that she was rated as somebody at the highest rate of health. I mean, the person's very healthy, then you're going to get a better rate on your life insurance. So that's how she was rated from New York Life. Now, in cross-examination, it brought out that Brian Walshe was not able to get a life insurance policy because of his federal case. And they brought out the fact that you are able to sometimes borrow off of whole life insurance. If you have a whole life insurance policy, you're able to borrow money based on that. He also brought out the fact that Brian Walshe never called him to get paid out on the life insurance. Now, remember that Brian Walshe was arrested pretty soon after the disappearance, so not giving him so much time to collect on this insurance policy, but they did want to bring out the fact that he never made a phone call to New York Life saying, hey, when can I collect on this insurance policy because my wife's dead? But again, he was pretending the entire time that she was missing, so exactly how that would work out, not sure, but they did bring that out, that he never called to get paid out on the insurance, and also that he never called to take out any loans on the children's whole life insurance policy. Now, then we heard from Davis Gould from the crime lab, and he examined the Volvo, this Volvo that was parked in front of the Walshe residence, and there were 5 areas in which he screened that were positive for blood. Now, he also examined the trash bags that were located in the dumpsters, and this is where we start to saw some gruesome details of how this dismemberment occurred. There was a lot of information that was a lot of materials that were found. Anna's clothes, towels, tissues, bathrobes, slippers, rugs, a Tyvek suit, gauze, and all of them had blood on them. Or we can't say blood in court at this point, but you can say it's a reddish, brownish stains. But we all know what it is. And there's also evidence of hydrogen peroxide. They also found a hammer, wire snips, hacksaw, a hatchet, and shears. So that was in terms of what he found in the dumpster. And also what brought out on cross-examination is that what he tried to argue, Larry Tipton, was that, well, look, we don't know how the clothes got mixed up with other clothes or other materials that were in the dumpster. It's possible that things cross-contaminated and, maybe blood from something else. Maybe an animal went in there and died and got all over the place. But that was kind of the suggestion I was trying to bring out there, that, do you know if it was in a compactor before, or do you know if the clothes came in contact with something else or some other material which would make it look like there's some blood there, but really it wasn't Anna. But again, it seems like the defense is not going to make the case that Brian Walshe did not dismember her. So exactly what the point of that cross-examination, I'm not exactly sure. So that was really it for day 3. A lot of witnesses and a lot of information, but really when it comes down to the ultimate facts of the case, not too much information was learned in today's trial. So definitely tune in tomorrow for day 4, which seems like it's going to be a very interesting day. So we'll see you all right back here Brother Counsel Studios, 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button. Really helps out the channel a lot. Hit the like button. Really helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't yet donated, definitely hit the link in the description to donate to a very, very special charity, very special to my heart, and it'll also help me reach my goal so that I can play ice hockey to benefit this tournament. All right, that's going to be it for today, and we will see you next time.